This presentation will cover the key facts of the General Motors ignition switch recall, a switch that would be later referred to as the switch from hell. It will analyze the ethical and legal issues surrounding the case. As early as 2001, General Motors is made aware of an ignition switch defect in which a faulty switch could be easily manipulated into the accessory position. This caused the vehicle's engine to shut down, as well as disabled power steering and prevented the airbags from deploying in the event of a collision. After an investigation into the issue, it is found that all vehicles prior to 2007 containing an old design of the switch were unsafe. GM eventually recalls over 30 million vehicles worldwide and is held responsible for 124 deaths as the disaster reaches the height of its coverage. So, how did General Motors deal with this issue? GM addressed this issue confidentially by replacing the faulty parts on new models but failing to address the issue with pre-existing automobiles. This was done without changing the part identifier, so there's no record which reveals the vehicles have the new switch. This case deals with a situation that put the public in danger. There are numerous professional misconduct and ethical issues at play here, and the violated clauses are outlined. However, the most pressing violations are that of 72.2b, concerning reasonable provision for safeguarding of life, and 72.2c, requiring correcting or reporting a situation that may be endangering the safety of the public. Alternatives for the ethical breaches include opting to do nothing, largely what happened for the greater part of a decade. Technical experts could take the issue to management. The company could have decided to comply with recall regulations. Employees could have resigned or leaked the information to the press if components were not changed. Or engineers could take the issue to the PEO. Analyzing the generated alternatives, any inaction means that the pressing ethical violations remain, especially that of 72.2b and c. While a recall would be costly, it's a drop in the bucket compared to the cost of lawsuits to come. Going up the company chain and eventually PEO until a recall is issued threatens job security, but would mean public welfare is being regarded as paramount. Our group believes that a combination of these alternatives would best address the issue. Technical experts who knew about the issue should have come forward and presented the findings to upper management. If the company continued to refuse and chose not to acknowledge these impacts, more employees should have put public welfare first and should have decided to whistleblow at an earlier stage. The legal classification for this case qualifies as tort law. The purpose of tort law is to compensate the injured party for the damages. However, GM shows evidence of malicious intent and acted without regard to public welfare. The professional engineer is expected to apply reasonable care and prudence in their practice and thereby owes a duty of care to the development company even if no contractual relationship exists. Legal precedence of this case was first established in the Donahue v. Stevenson case, which establishes that no contractual agreement was necessary between parties. Additionally, the legal precedence evolved with the case of Headley-Byrne, which laid the groundwork for the legal precedence that states that in the absence of a clear disclaimer, a company may be exempt from penalty. In this case, the plaintiff was the United States government, surviving victims, and families of the deceased. Defendants included General Motors and the switch manufacturer company, Delphi Automotive. Liabilities regarding this case include any injuries sustained by victims that are to be claimed within 2 years of injury, assuming the plaintiff is capable. These injuries may include physical or financial injuries, i.e. vehicle repair, as well as any other injury sustained due to the defendant's wrongdoing. Strict liability dictates that manufacturers can be held liable for the damage resulting from the use of their product, regardless of whether or not they were negligent in the production, and hence common sense would dictate that GM be held vicariously liable for the mistakes of its employees and manufacturers. Consequential damages included fines associated with failure to adhere to regulations. Direct include emotional pain and suffering due to accidents, medical and funeral expenses, recalling of vehicles, rental vehicles, replacement of a vehicle, property damages, and lost wages from work. In reviewing precedents tort cases, it would appear that courts would rule in favor of the plaintiffs. All three tort principles were met. As a result, GM would be required to compensate victims for damages resulting from their wrongdoing.